Hi everyone, welcome to Celestial, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to talk about what it means to have Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart. Now as usual, just a quick little disclaimer, in these videos I don't go into the spouse's or long-term partner's appearance, or at least the color of their skin and certain facial features. I understand that in certain cultures or communities, or just by individual preference, this may be information that someone is interested in knowing, but just to be transparent, you won't find those answers in these videos. I don't talk about things such as the color of someone's skin, potentially, or certain facial features, just because of the world and the times that we're living in. A lot of individuals have to navigate and face a lot of suffering and grief over something that they can't control, such as the color of their skin or certain facial features, and I don't wish to kind of peddle that forward through my videos, content, or information. I apologize if that's something that you were keen on knowing in this video or any of the D9 Navamsa series, but unfortunately you won't find those answers here. I just wanted to say that at the beginning of the video, just in case that you're watching this video to know those answers, I don't want you to waste your time or be disappointed, and I want to thank you for your understanding. With that being said, let's get into today's video. So the D9 Navamsa chart is a chart that symbolizes many different things, themes, karmas, and etc. It is also known as the chart of fortune or the height of fortune, but just for the sake of this series in specific and in particular, I'm just going to talk about the 7th house connected to the spouse or the long-term partner. Now, having Neptune in the 7th house of the D9 Navamsa chart is something that not a lot of people talk about. A lot of Vedic astrologers don't actually include the outer planets, which are Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in their series, but we at Celestial do, just because they're very significant and important. So you may hear things in this video that you possibly are not aware of, or it might just offer you a different perspective. Neptune is a planet that is associated with dreams, idealism, and spirituality. Neptune is a planet that fosters sensitivity, empathy, and in some extreme cases, disillusionment, pain, suffering, loss, and etc. When Neptune comes into the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart, and of course depending on the sign it's sitting in, aspects it's receiving, it tends to indicate that the marriage or the union is very idealistic or romantic. There's usually a strong dose or strong level of sacrifice involved in the partnership or union. Now, what exactly you might have to sacrifice or your long-term partner or spouse will have to sacrifice will depend on the sign and the nakshatra or lunar mansion and aspects that this planet is receiving in the 7th. When someone has Neptune in the 7th house of their D9 Navamsa chart, this very strongly indicates that you have very high expectations or even fantasies about the nature of relationships or how you want your marriage and union to be. Now, this doesn't mean that we can chalk all this up to disillusionment or illusionment of any kind. It may very well be this case because Neptune is also connected to psychic activity or someone being very gifted in the psychic arts. So it's likely that you can actually end up manifesting the partner that you want, the partner of your dreams, keyword being dreams, because Neptune is also very strongly connected to 12th house themes. It's likely that you already know what your partner is going to be like, even if you don't know anything about astrology or even the Navamsa chart. It's likely you know what your partner is going to be like. You may even know what they're going to look like or the certain traits and personalities that they will have, and it's likely you know this just because you have a feeling about this, or it could have come to you in a dream. Having Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart often means that there is a mystical or profound or divine connection with your spouse or long-term partner in this life. It's likely you are someone that is deeply attuned to the emotional needs of your partner and also vice versa. So your partner is going to be someone that is deeply connected to you and aware of your feelings and your thoughts, your heart, your spirit, and so on. If Neptune is severely afflicted in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart, it can indicate that both of you triggering a lot of grief and loss for each other, or at least you influencing one another in not very healthy ways. So addiction can start, mental health concerns can come up, and so on. If there are other influences on this Neptune sitting in your 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart, it can indicate you feeling like you're sacrificing a lot for this person, or it can be the other way around. Your partner can feel like they're sacrificing a lot for you and they're not getting very much in return. In the most severe cases, it can mean that there can be crime involved, there could be prison involved, there could be hospitalization involved, and so on. It's likely that you attract people into your life, or your long-term partner or spouse is going to be someone that could have a reputation of being a victim or a martyr in some way. Now, it may not mean that they are one, they may just look like one, or they may just have certain experiences that make other people see them as a victim or feel sorry for them or feel bad for them, or at least want to extend a lot of empathy and grace towards them. Your spouse or long-term partner can come across as a little bit sad. They can look a little bit sad, they can have sad eyes, or they can have a sad aura, or they can also come across as very, very kind-hearted, pure-hearted, somebody who deeply cares about others, and someone who very easily takes on the feelings of others as well, including their suffering and pain. Having Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart very strongly indicates a deep, soulful connection with your spouse or long-term partner. Again, there can be a tendency for illusions and deceptions as well, so in certain cases it can indicate affairs. Or it can also indicate that you and your partner believe that love has no boundaries, so you both can be open to having an open relationship or marriage or union in some way. You do want to practice caution and be aware that you may have the potential to idolize your partners and the relationship or marriage itself. Having Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart often indicates that you get a partner that you feel that you can almost worship, or they're worshipable, not only just to you, but to other people. Oftentimes I've seen this in the chart of people who feel like they see God in their partner, or that their partner is so divine and so lovely that they want to worship them or they want to be like them. You do want to be a little bit cautious about unrealistic expectations, and you want to ensure that you see your partner and the relationship with clarity. In certain cases, having Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart can indicate that the partner or spouse, long-term partner, can be a little bit unreachable in some way. Now, they can be unreachable physically, meaning that they're not physically with you for certain reasons. You'd have to look at the sign and nakshatra, lunar mansions, and aspects to figure out why. Or you can feel like they may not be there for you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, at least the way that you are there for them. So having Neptune in the 7th house of the D9 Navamsa chart often indicates an imbalance, usually on a spiritual level. It often indicates very strong karmic debts that need to be balanced and played out. It's likely that one of you in this marriage or union will have to be of service to the other person on some level. Again, you want to look at the sign and nakshatra. It can mean that you may have to physically take care of your partner, you may have to mentally, emotionally, or spiritually take care of them at some point, or they may have to take care of you at some point. You may feel like you'll have to handle your life partner or your spouse with kid gloves. They may be a little bit fragile, or you may have to deal with them in a very sensitive and empathetic way at certain points of your union, or even throughout your entire union. It's likely that your spouse or your long-term partner is going to be a romantic, or someone who at least appreciates romantic gestures very much. It's likely that they will be a hopeless romantic, and again, vice versa. Your spouse or long-term partner is going to be someone who is very, very spiritual. They may not be religious, but they will definitely be spiritual, and what kind of spiritual they will be will depend on the sign, and of course their own chart as well. It's likely that your partner will share the same spiritual beliefs, or at least they engage in practices that provide a sense of higher understanding that is similar to yours. You can find that there can be difficulties in establishing clear boundaries in the context of the 7th house related matters, and in this case your marriage or your union. So you can have a hard time actually getting the relationship off the ground, or at least establishing clear boundaries surrounding the union or marriage. So this can mean that you can kind of spend a great deal of time in a relationship or union where you don't act like a married couple, or you don't act like you're together, or it can be very confusing to kind of get to that stage at least. There's going to be a strong focus on establishing healthy limits and maintaining a realistic view of the partner and of the relationship or marriage. On the most positive sense possible, it can indicate that your partner or your spouse is somebody who truly deeply understands you and is able to provide a cushion for you or an environment for you where you feel very safe and understood with them. It's likely that you look at your partner or your long-term partner, your spouse, with a lot of empathy. So they could be somebody that you really, really admire for their gentleness, kindness, and even the way that they are, their heart, their spirit, and etc. It's likely that you will associate the word dreamy very closely to your spouse or long-term partner. Either they can look very dreamy, or they can just have this aura around them that makes you feel and makes others feel that they're not from this world or not from this time. Love is going to be immensely, immensely important for them throughout their life. You'll notice a lot of things that they've gone through in their life surround what love is and defining love. Your spouse or long-term partner approaches love and relationships with a highly romantic and idealistic mindset. It's likely that your spouse and long-term partner wants a very fairy tale-like connection with you, and they're often driven by visions of a perfect or idealistic love in some sense. Perhaps they were raised in an environment or they witnessed a relationship that was an ideal, something that they also want for themselves, and they will work to create that within their union with you. And of course, this is also vice versa as well, so this applies to you towards your spouse or long-term partner. Your spouse or long-term partner is likely somebody who is going to be known to be very sensitive or empathetic, or in the extreme sense, it could be somebody that is very cushioned and protected or nurtured in their life. So you'll find that they perhaps have a reputation that they need to really be taken care of or spoken to gently or in other special ways. It's likely that your spouse or long-term partner can have difficulty navigating the harsh realities of life or even the harsh realities of a marriage or union. So you can find that if you are having troubles in your marriage or union, or you're having just normal fights and disagreements, that your spouse or long-term partner actually mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or even physically checks out of the relationship or marriage, so they can become unavailable to you. You'll have difficulty accessing them when there's disagreements or difficulties, just because they probably don't know how to deal with that in a healthy way, and it causes them to shut down, or it causes them to feel very disillusioned in the marriage or union with you. If there are a lot of positive aspects, they can also indicate that your spouse or long-term partner is able to sense the undercurrents, the emotional and spiritual undercurrents of your marriage and union. So it's likely that they can already sense that a problem is going to start, or they can sense your moods and they actually come in to solve that right away or do something really special for you. So they can be very gifted at preventing violence or disharmony or other very disruptive themes. Your spouse or long-term partner can be someone who's very good with their words. They can have a very healing energy or aura around them. So it could be somebody who knows what to say to make other people feel better. Or it can also be somebody that just their mere presence alone can really help provide healing to other people. A lot of people can come to them. They can attract a lot of victims or martyrs to them as well, just because they have a very healing and powerful aura. Your spouse and long-term partner is likely to be somebody that is a emotional and spiritual sponge. So it's likely that they have to be in environments that are very safe, especially emotionally and spiritually. Otherwise, they can really take on very difficult and even dangerous emotions and thoughts. You'll find that your spouse or your long-term partner is somebody that needs a lot of space to themselves or needs to come back to a lot of harmony and love. So they can expect you to be very unconditional with them, sometimes in ways that are not necessarily healthy or even doable. You'll find that if your spouse or long-term partner needs you for something and you're unavailable, maybe perhaps due to the practicalities of life, maybe you have to go to work, maybe you don't feel well, that they can take that very, very personally, and it can take a lot for you to bring them out of their shell and come back into the relationship with you in a very mental, emotional, and spiritual sense. It's likely that your spouse or long-term partner expresses their love for you or for your union through various artistic gestures such as poetry, music, or other visual arts. So this can be someone who writes you a lot of poetry or does very sweet and artistic things for you to show their love for you. And it's likely that they will really appreciate or in other ways value creativity in your relationship or marriage. Your spouse or long-term partner is going to be somebody who is tremendously sensitive, or at least very emotional or aware of their feelings. So this is going to be somebody that you have to really be mindful how you critique or how you share constructive criticism with. They may also be completely oblivious to the harsh realities of life. Perhaps they've lived a very protected life or existence in some way, so they can have a really hard time dealing with the harshness of life or practicalities as well. Your spouse or long-term partner is going to be somebody who really loves innocent energy, whether that is in the form of animals or even children. So you can find that they really, really love to take care of other vulnerable energies. So they can be really interested in having animals around them and being nurturing and taking care of animals, or even taking care of children could be really important to them. You'll find that grief and suffering in the world really deeply affects them. They can take on other people's pain and suffering very, very easily, so they may rely on you to kind of protect them and have healthy boundaries. There can be yearning and longing connected to this person or marriage or union. You can find that when you meet this person that you have longed for them or yearned for them for a very, very long time, or you can just long or yearn to be in a relationship with them. And this can also be vice versa, that you could be an ideal for them, that they really deeply want to be with you and they're willing to wait for you for as long as it takes as well. Or you can meet them much later in life, or there can be a massive age difference where it feels like to them that they've really longed for you or yearned for you for a significant amount of time, or again, vice versa. And due to the 12th house connection, it can also feel like a past life connection. You can feel like you've been with this person in many different past lives and you're reuniting in this life as well. So it can feel like a very, very special, but also somehow fragile connection as well. It's likely that your spouse's or long-term partner's goal in this union with you or marriage with you is putting an emphasis on the spiritual and emotional. So they may constantly want to do different activities or different traditions, different customs to feel closer to you, and they may really place an emphasis on having a divine connection with you rather than just a purely physical one. You can find that your spouse or your long-term partner can have difficulty or can struggle with maintaining practical and realistic boundaries, or they can really struggle with the more mundane side of life and relationships. So it can be that this partner wants to feel like every day is like a movie with you, and then if things get perhaps a little bit boring or predictable, then they can really struggle with that. So you may need to do some very special things for this person to make them feel like they're still loved and that you care for them. On the more difficult end, or if there's harsher aspects, again, Neptune can lead to a tendency for illusions and escapism. You can find that your spouse or long-term partner might be prone to idolizing the relationship or union with you, or using various means such as daydreaming, substances, or other forms of escapism to avoid facing harsh realities. There can be an addiction connected to the spouse. It doesn't have to necessarily be of substances. They can just be connected to escapism in other forms, whether that's shopping or listening to a lot of music or etc. It's likely that when your spouse or long-term partner feels like things are getting a little bit too harsh or they're really struggling with the day-to-day, that they may need to escape in other ways. So they may need to listen to a lot of music. They probably want to lay in bed or take a lot of naps and etc. You'll find that compassion and forgiveness is very strongly connected to your spouse or long-term partner in some way. Now, this can mean that through your relationship with them that you actually learn a lot about compassion and forgiveness just due to navigating life with this individual. Maybe they indirectly teach you how to be more compassionate and be more forgiving. Or it could mean that your spouse or long-term partner themselves is very compassionate and very forgiving. You can find that they can be extremely understanding of your flaws or flaws in the relationship or just things that come up. And they can have a very forgiving nature, and this won't be reserved just for you. This is likely how they're going to be with other people as well. In fact, this could be the image that they have generally. It's likely that your spouse or long-term partner is somebody that strives to see the best in even challenging situations or difficult people. It's likely that this is somebody that really believes in the good in people and may see good even when it doesn't necessarily exist. Your long-term partner and spouse is going to be somebody that needs to take a lot of breaks when it comes to dealing with reality. So if this person is working 9 to 5, 7 days a week or 5 days a week, then you can find that they really burn out very quickly, especially spiritually. Perhaps you can even find that they may be a little bit too sensitive for this world, so you can become very protective over them. You may find your spouse or long-term partner to be extremely pure or precious in some way, and you may want to really step in and guard them, but you have to be careful that you don't burn out as well through this marriage or through this partner. This is not going to be someone that you can just tell it to them as it is. You absolutely won't be able to be direct with them or bold with them or critical of them. You're going to have to handle them with kid gloves and kind of fluff up your words so you don't end up hurting them very deeply. You can find that your spouse or long-term partner has tremendously high expectations of you and your marriage or union. In fact, this is going to be somebody who wants and expects you to be completely head over heels in love with them at all times. And if you show any signs of that not being true to them, such as perhaps you're a little bit more distant because you're tired because of work, they can take that extremely personally, and then it can be very difficult for them to come out of their shell again. If there are other challenging aspects to this Neptune in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart, it can indicate that one of you gives much more than you receive from the other side or from the other individual. This placement tends to very strongly point to a spiritual karmic disharmony or imbalance of some kind. It is likely that at some point through the marriage or union, you are going to have to be of service to this person, or vice versa, but it's usually very likely that you will be the one that has to be of service to them somehow. You want to be cautious and be aware of any mental health declines that happen through this marriage, union, or individual. Or you also want to be careful that because you're trying so hard to meet their ideal consistently, that you don't burn out and your mental health doesn't end up suffering. You can find that while your partner can be tremendously compassionate and empathetic towards you, that they may not be available when you really need them or when you're really navigating the harsher sides of life or relationships. For example, if you are navigating mortgage payments or bills of some kind, you can find that your partner is not really available to help you navigate that. But if you're sad about something happening in the world or somebody in your life passed away, you can find that your partner then really steps in and is there for you and wants to take care of you. Sometimes with certain aspects, it can indicate that you get into a relationship or union with somebody that completely changes after the union is cemented in some way. So it could be somebody that desires you so much that they kind of hide the more difficult parts of their personality, or maybe parts of their personality that need a lot of improvement, just so they can cement their relationship with you. And after that's been done, you kind of see the fog disappear, you see the walls come down, and you kind of see their more perhaps undesirable traits and qualities. For example, you can find that this person perhaps struggles with an addiction of some kind, or at least they did in the past, and this is something that they weren't so forthcoming with initially. Or there can be something in their mental health journey that they're not very forthcoming or transparent about, and you kind of stumble upon it after you are in a union with them that's more cemented, and then it can be difficult for you to navigate that. You can feel a little bit betrayed, or again, vice versa. Your spouse or long-term partner is somebody that's likely going to be known for their heightened sensitivity. And this placement enhances the emotional sensitivity as well. It makes them highly empathetic and intuitive as well. They're very good at understanding how you feel and how others feel. If you are going to tell this person something that they did that upset you or something that you're not happy about, instead of just sitting with them across a table and telling them, you may have to sit with them, you may have to hold their hands, you may have to baby them, you may have to hug them. They will need a lot of reassurance throughout this marriage or union from you. Now, if you have a chart, if you're a D9 Navamsa chart and there's other indications, or your Lagna chart point to you being a more realistic and practical person, you can deeply struggle in this marriage and union because you may have to put a lot of time, invest a lot of time and efforts into helping your partner be more grounded the way that you are. And this is something that they likely are not going to achieve in this life or through this union with you. And this can have a massive impact on you and your karmas and your well-being and your mental health. But if you have a chart, or if you are somebody that is more intuitive, that is more spiritual, then you can find that this person or this partner is a dream come true for you, and you're very, very happy with this person. Now, you will find that other people in the life of your partner or spouse have often shielded them from the harsh realities of life, and you will be expected to continue this karmically. So for example, you can find that your spouse or long-term partner's family didn't really help them go through more difficult parts of life. Maybe they don't know what it's like to pay back a loan. Maybe they don't know what it's like to navigate loss. And they are going to expect you to also handle them with kid gloves and carry that on karmically and spiritually, and you could really struggle with that. When extremely well placed, this indicates that you truly find your other half, your most purest soulmate in this life, and you're very happy with them. You can feel like you want to find them in every life, or you may feel like forever is not enough with them. Other people can see your marriage or union as perfect or as an ideal as well. Even if that's not necessarily the case behind closed doors, you would want to look at the 8th house of your D9 Navamsa for that. But you can also find that other people see you as couple goals, whether that's more publicly or even in your intimate circles. It's very likely that you are going to learn a lot about empathy and sacrifice, compassion, and how to be kind to other people through this person directly or indirectly. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope, if nothing else, it offered you a different perspective. I know there are not a lot of videos about the outer planets in Vedic astrology, especially in the 7th house of the D9 Navamsa chart, so I'm very excited to bring you this. I hope you were able to learn something new. Thank you so much for your support and kindness in general. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're keeping safe, and until next time.